Imagine, my friend, that you are just a high school student, living a monotonous life filled with boredom. Then suddenly, on a day you never expected, you find yourself transported to another world. And what is even more shocking is that you become the strongest person in that world, possessing the power of the Demon King, and winning the love of the most beautiful girl your eyes have ever seen. Can you imagine it? If so, then let us begin. Our story begins with Taichi, a simple young man living a calm and ordinary life in his city, accompanied by his close friend Rin. Rin harbored feelings of love toward him, though she had not yet revealed them. On a day no different from any other, while the two were on their way to school, a strange magical gate suddenly appeared beneath their feet. At the same time, the scene shifts to another world, where the ruler of the world is revealed as the one responsible for this summoning. It becomes clear that she was personally performing the summoning ritual, when a mysterious individual suddenly appeared behind her and stabbed her assistant. That intruder was about to strike the ruler herself, but the assistant rose at the final moment, saved her, and delivered a fatal blow to the attacker instead. At that point, the ruler realized that the gate had already been activated and that the summoning had been completed. We move to Taichi, who stood frozen in shock at the sight of the magical gate, unable to comprehend its nature, though he murmured that it resembled something out of ancient legends. Suddenly, the gate enveloped both him and Rin. Taichi attempted to convince Rin to flee, but she clung to him and refused to abandon him, and in the next instant, both of them were torn away from their place. When Taichi and Rin opened their eyes once more, they were stunned by their surroundings, for they had truly been transported to another world. Taichi immediately hurried to check on Rin, and when he grasped her hand, he felt an intense heat. Rin stood up, and the two decided to search for anyone who might be able to help them in this unfamiliar land. As they walked forward, a gigantic monster suddenly appeared before them, and overwhelming fear seized them due to its terrifying appearance and massive size. Without hesitation, the monster launched an attack. In the final moment, Taichi managed to save Rin and urged her to run away while he distracted the monster. Rin refused to leave him behind, but Taichi ignored her protest and rushed toward the creature, attempting to divert its attention to give her a chance to escape. He hurled a rock at it. Though the stone had absolutely no effect, the monster responded by attacking him with savage force. At that moment, a man suddenly appeared and used cutting wind magic, striking the monster. However, the creature did not die and prepared to attack once again. Just before it could do so, another figure emerged from the grass and fired an arrow that killed the monster. Taichi stood in utter shock, and his astonishment only deepened when a girl appeared shortly after, clearly accompanying the two men. She used fire magic and began roasting the monster until it was reduced to what resembled cooked chicken. It is then revealed that the muscular and powerful man was named Bordeaux, the female mage was Mejia, and the archer was Raquel. Together, the team had completely annihilated the monster. At that moment, Taichi realized that he needed to become strong in order to protect Rin, and that both of them would have to adapt to this new world. Afterward, the group decided to rest. Raquel noticed the strange clothes worn by Taichi and Rin and questioned them about it. Though Taichi did not respond, Raquel then remarked that even without an explanation, the two of them needed to acquire weapons, as it was dangerous to walk around unarmed, especially since the number of monsters in the area had recently increased significantly. At that point, Taichi noticed that Rin had not spoken a single word and appeared troubled and uncomfortable by something he could not yet understand. At that moment, Taichi approached Bordeaux and expressed his wish for them to accompany him to the nearest city. Bordeaux agreed immediately and without hesitation, honoring his duty and acting in accordance with his chivalrous nature. After that, everyone fell asleep, with the sole exception of Rin, who chose to sit quietly in a nearby corner, avoiding interaction with the others. Taichi went to check on her and asked about the reason behind her sadness. At first, she refused to explain, but soon her emotions burst forth in anger, as she questioned how he could do what he had done, how he could place his life in danger before that monster, and whether he understood what would have happened to her had something happened to him, declaring that she could not live without him. The young man listened in shock, stunned by the depth of her feelings. He stepped closer and reassured her, promising that he would never do such a thing again, and that the two of them would always remain together. The girl was deeply moved, her heart trembling with joy at those words. On the following day, the group headed toward the town of Aspire. Upon their arrival, Bordeaux informed them that it was a town located on the border of the kingdom, yet despite that, it was lively and prosperous. He then guided them to the location of the Adventurers Guild. Taichi and Rin thanked him, parted ways with the group and Taichi led Rin toward the guild, intending for the two of them to officially join as adventurers. The pair soon arrived at the guild, where they were greeted by the receptionist. She explained all the required procedures and handed them a document containing written instructions. Both of them were astonished to find that they were able to read the unfamiliar language, despite having never encountered it before. Afterward, the receptionist informed them that they needed to measure their power using a special magical crystal. Rin placed her hand on the crystal, after which the receptionist turned to Taichi and asked him to do the same. The instant Taichi touched the crystal, it shattered completely. The receptionist was left in shock, unable to comprehend what had just occurred. She asked them to wait and hurried off to summon the guildmaster. This action stunned everyone present, for the guildmaster did not appear without cause. Such a situation could only indicate something serious. When the guildmaster arrived, it became clear that his name was Gerard. He informed them that, in order to join the guild, they would need to accompany a certain girl, whose name was Miura, known by the title Golden Ambassador. The two felt uneasy, as Gerard refused to explain anything further. He simply told them that they would understand everything once they went with Miura. In the end, they chose to comply and followed her. They walked together until they reached a strange house, where a girl named Lamia opened the door for them. Everyone sat down and began talking. Miura informed Lamia that the crystal had been unable to withstand the power of Taichi and Rin, and that a precise measurement of their strength was therefore necessary. Lamia agreed at once and went to retrieve a device that measured power numerically. The device was set up, and once the power measurement began, the result was shocking, as the numbers displayed were extraordinarily high. Lamia was stunned and informed them that she would begin training them starting that very day, due to their legendary level of power. The two stood ready to begin their training. Elsewhere, a spy reported to his master that two individuals had arrived from another world. The master was furious and ordered that they must be eliminated, though their true level of power had to be determined first. It became clear that events were on the verge of igniting. We moved to Taichi, who learned from Lamia that his magical energy amounted to 120,000, while his physical power reached 40,000. As for Rin, her magical energy totaled 37,000 and her power reached 5,000. Miura was shocked by these figures, as they were extraordinarily high. Normally, an average person possessed around 10,000 in magical energy and 2,000 in power. Even the strongest mage in the kingdom, Lamia herself, had 43,000 in magical energy and 6,000 in power, while Miura possessed 35,000 in magical energy and 3,800 in power. With these numbers, it became evident that Taichi and Rin were overwhelmingly powerful, to the extent that they rivaled the strength of the Demon King. Lamia explained that this was precisely why she intended to train them, as such power, if not properly controlled, would ultimately destroy its wielder. Taichi asked what would happen if they mastered the use of their power. Lamia explained that he would become one of the strongest mages in existence, capable of destroying kingdoms and lands single-handedly, ruling any nation he desired, possessing limitless wealth, and even marrying any woman he chose. These words filled Taichi with joy, only for Rin to lightly strike him on the face, the impact quickly fading, but her jealousy unmistakably clear. It was evident that emotional conflict would play a role in Taichi's story. The group agreed on a date to begin training and finalized all other arrangements, bringing the day to its conclusion. On the following day, everyone gathered to share a meal. Lamia began explaining to Taichi and Rin everything related to magic in this world. She clarified that magic is activated through forming contracts with spirits, which are divided into four main categories: wind spirits, water spirits, fire spirits, and earth spirits. Each mage normally forms a contract with only one spirit, but in rare cases, a mage may contract with more than one. An example of this was Miura, who had formed contracts with two spirits. As for Lamia, it became clear that she utilized 3 spirits. At that moment, she stunned everyone by declaring that Rin possessed the ability to use all 4 spirits. Rin was shocked by this revelation. Lamia affirmed it with certainty, stating that Rin was the most powerful spirit user to ever exist. Taichi then asked about his own power, and Lamia informed him that his strength could not be precisely determined because he was a shaman. She explained that a shaman uses the spirits themselves directly rather than the power derived from them, and that shamans are usually extremely powerful, though they must first establish agreements with those spirits. After Lamia had clarified all of this to the hero, she told him that the power he possessed could allow him to destroy entire nations on his own, and that he would need to decide what to do with such strength. Taichi responded that he had no interest in that kind of power and only wished to live a normal life. Lamia agreed reluctantly, though she remained worried, sensing that he would not be left in peace. Lamia announced that training would begin immediately so that their skills could improve. Soon after, everyone headed into the forest. Lamia began training Taichi, while Miura took responsibility for training Rin. Taichi began his training as Lamia explained that he needed to concentrate all of his power into his right fist. The young man attempted to do so, but the task proved extremely difficult. On the other side, Miura explained to Rin the method of using magic, which required the user to visualize the form of the power in their mind. For example, if one wished to use fire, they needed to imagine the shape of fire and then speak the word fire, at which point the ability would activate. Rin attempted this by visualizing fire and its chemical composition based on what she had learned in her own world, and suddenly, the spell activated. Miura was completely shocked, as activating a spell on the first attempt was considered impossible. Rin confidently declared that she was not finished yet, and in the next instant, she activated blue fire magic. Miura froze in utter disbelief, as no one had ever been able to use that spell before. At that moment, she realized that these two undoubtedly had a magnificent future ahead of them. At that point, Rin went to check on Taichi, only to discover that he had made no progress yet. She wanted to offer him some guidance, but suddenly, Taichi heard a strange voice in his mind, resembling that of a child, instructing him to imagine his power as a mass located at the center of his body. The young man followed those instructions, and his power manifested and took shape in his hand. Rin was astonished by what she witnessed. Taichi asked her whether she had heard any strange voice, but she denied hearing anything. He simply acknowledged her response. The two then left the area and returned home to eat. Rin informed Lamia of everything and spoke about the significant progress she had achieved. Lamia instructed Taichi to focus carefully, as the training the next day would be different. The young man felt overwhelming exhaustion and fatigue and struggled to endure it. Lamia sternly warned him that if he failed to make proper progress, he would receive no food. He agreed immediately, and both he and Rin went to sleep. That night, Lamia was unable to rest. Miura came to speak with her and asked about the cause of her concern. Lamia explained that Taichi and Rin were far too powerful, and that their strength would draw countless enemies toward them. For that reason, their training had to be completed within exactly 3 weeks, so that they would be capable of protecting themselves. Soon after, night fell completely, and everyone slept. The next day, training continued, and this routine persisted until the 3 weeks came to an end. Taichi had changed greatly, his appearance becoming imposing and extraordinarily powerful. Suddenly, while he was standing, a giant wolf lunged at him. In an instant, Taichi delivered a powerful blow that sent the beast crashing to the ground, and he finished it off immediately. On the other side of the forest, Rin was fighting monsters as well. Her power had increased noticeably, and she was now slaying monsters with remarkable ease. At the same time, Lamia and Miura were observing the two from a distance. Suddenly, Miura noticed the strongest monster in the area, the same giant horse that had appeared before. This time, however, things were different. Taichi and Rin had changed, having mastered the use of their power. Miura attempted to step in to assist, but Lamia stopped her, telling her to watch and let them show what they could do. Within mere seconds, the two defeated the monster and even prepared it to become their lunch. Everyone celebrated, as Taichi and Rin had successfully completed their training. Lamia then revealed to them that she had already known they came from another world. The reason was their unusual power, along with the unfamiliar words they occasionally used. She explained that she had previously read about people being transported from one world to another, either through a rift that forms within world gates or through someone deliberately opening a gate to summon them. She confirmed that there was a 99% chance that someone had intentionally summoned them, and that they needed to discover who that person was and question the reason behind it. She added that she had trained them because she knew they were strangers to this world and would not have been able to protect themselves otherwise. Taichi felt overwhelming joy and said that this meant he would be able to meet that shaman and ask to return to his own world. Lamia responded with a hint of concern and tension, assuring him that it was possible, but telling him not to dwell on it for now. After that, everyone ate and went to sleep. Yet later that night, as Taichi lay in his bed, he heard a strange voice, the same one he always heard, telling him that they would be able to meet soon. Taichi found this unsettling, but he chose to ignore it. On the following day, the two submitted their application to join the Adventurers Guild, and it was accepted. They began taking on various missions every day. On their first day, they encountered their old friends once more, and they continued in this manner for 3 weeks. On that day, a summons arrived for them from the guild, prompting them to go there. The guild master, Gerard, informed them of an extremely difficult mission that 2 teams had already failed. The task involved going to a shop in one of the poorer districts and investigating the people there to determine what they were doing. The reward for the mission was 5 silver coins, but if they failed, the guild master would have to summon S-rank adventurers and pay them a much larger amount. He explained that he had chosen them because they were students of Lamia, who had assured him that their power surpassed description and logic. After this discussion, the two accepted the mission and left. As they walked, Taichi recalled Lamia's warning that he should always keep his power usage below 30% and never exceed that limit under any circumstances. He considered what would happen if he were to use 100% of his power. It would result in a massacre. At present, Taichi was using only 5% of his strength. Suddenly, Rin noticed her favorite fruit. She approached the merchant and asked about the price, only to be told that 3 pieces cost 3 silver coins. Rin was shocked by the strange rise in prices. The merchant explained that most fruits and resources were no longer reaching the city for some reason, often due to monsters. Rin bought the fruit and the two continued on their way. As they walked, they thought about what was happening because of the monsters and felt deep concern for the people. If this situation continued, many would starve to death. They concluded that their mission must be connected to the disappearance of vegetables and decided to head to the task as quickly as possible. When the time came, they arrived at the shop and entered, beginning their investigation with the people inside in their own manner. They claimed to have heard that the place sold items unavailable elsewhere and expressed their desire to buy, showing the money they carried. The moment the people saw the money, they immediately rose and attacked them. However, they were attacking Taichi. In an instant, Taichi and Rin broke the attackers' bones. One of them then confessed that a man had come to them with stolen goods and offered to sell them, which they had agreed to buy, though they did not know who the man truly was. Taichi confirmed that they possessed no useful information, so he left them and departed. Suddenly, as the two walked away, they sensed someone following them. Moments later, 3 girls appeared before them. One of them recklessly attacked Taichi at tremendous speed. Taichi decided to use his power, dodged the attack, and struck her with magic. The girl was slammed into a wall, even though Taichi had used only 10% of his power, leaving her completely unable to move. A second girl attacked, but Rin charged forward and struck her with cutting wind magic, successfully eliminating her. Only 1 girl remained. Suddenly, one of them threw a smoke bomb, grabbed her severely injured companion, and vanished. Taichi concluded that they were hired assassins and decided that the remaining girl should be taken to the guild. They brought her there and handed her over to Gerard, who ordered her to be imprisoned in a cell. When the girl awoke, she found herself confined, with Gerard standing before her. He informed her that Taichi had requested that no one kill her. The girl was shocked, as she had attempted to kill him, yet he had chosen to spare her and personally asked the guild master for her life. On the following day, Miura was waiting for Taichi and Rin. The people around her stared in astonishment, as she was one of the elves. When the 2 youths arrived, they sat down with Miura. Taichi gently reproached her for her long absence and lack of communication. Miura apologized, explaining that she had been extremely busy recently. Taichi then asked about the reason for her sudden appearance. Miura explained that she had heard reports concerning the disappearance of crops, the spread of killings, and the increase in monsters. After that, the 2 youths recounted everything that had happened to them in detail. Miura proposed a solution to the problem, suggesting that they should personally transport the crops themselves so that if any attack occurred, they would be prepared to respond immediately. The idea appealed to Taichi and Rin, and they set out at once to carry out this new task. The heroes boarded a carriage and headed toward the farmlands. Upon arriving, they met the farmers who explained what had been happening. While getting acquainted with them, Taichi shook hands with one of the farmers, a man named Kasim, and immediately felt something strange. The man seemed suspicious and deeply untrustworthy. After exchanging information, the farmers guided Taichi, Rin, and Mayura to the site where the attacks had been occurring repeatedly. As soon as they arrived, Rin sensed a powerful magical presence. Suddenly, a gigantic monster appeared before them, surrounded by several smaller beasts. Miura charged ferociously at one of the smaller monsters and sliced it to pieces, then moved on to the next, and cut it down as well. Then it was Taichi's turn. The farmers whispered among themselves, remarking that the boy looked weak and would surely be killed quickly. However, Taichi shocked them all. In a single instant, he delivered a devastating blow to the monster's head, smashing it apart completely, all while using only 35% of his immense power. After the battle ended, everyone went to rest and discuss what should be done next. Taichi pointed out that what had happened must have been orchestrated by someone, as these monsters did not belong in farmland. Mayura agreed with him, but believed that they should first set a trap for the one pulling the strings in order to capture them. At the same time, a girl with a strange appearance was present within the forest. She had killed many people and animals and was absorbing their life force, declaring that she would eliminate all adventurers. Suddenly, she vanished from sight, clearly demonstrating her ability to turn invisible. Elsewhere, the imprisoned girl recalled what Taichi had done and was filled with confusion, wondering why he had chosen not to kill them. On the following day, the youths returned to the forest once more and began searching for any clues. Suddenly, Rin sensed the presence of a group of people through her magic, and they rushed toward them immediately. They discovered 3 thieves stealing crops, their bodies showing signs of extreme weakness. The thieves muttered that the witch had not come this time, and that she must have betrayed them. The youths captured them with ease, and the farmers took them away to be handed over. Kasim shook the hero's hand and thanked him, but Taichi suddenly questioned why his hand was so soft, despite being a farmer who should have rough hands. Kasim claimed that he was merely their supervisor, which was why his hands were like that. However, Rin exposed his lie, pointing out that he always spoke about the appearing monsters as if he knew them well, even though ordinary farmers should have no such knowledge. At that moment, Kasim burst into a sinister laugh and confessed that he had orchestrated everything, that he had brought in the thieves, assisted them, and asked the farmers to summon the heroes, all with the purpose of luring them into a trap. He declared that they had now fallen into the spider's web. In that instant, a witch appeared from nowhere, shocking the 2 youths. She stated that she would take the 2 girls, leaving the boy to Kasim, and the battle began immediately. Rin launched a fiery attack toward the witch, while Miura charged with her sword. Blows and clashes were exchanged fiercely, and the 2 sides appeared evenly matched in strength. Rin attempted to use wind magic, but it had no effect on the witch. On the other side, Taichi confronted Kasim, who suddenly summoned a gigantic monster. Taichi attempted to attack it but was unable to land a blow, as the monster was made of ice. The ice possessed the ability to transform into water and even vapor, revealing that the creature was extremely powerful and capable of shifting into a vaporous form whenever Taichi tried to strike it. Meanwhile, Rin continued confronting the witch. She launched successive attacks with the sole purpose of buying time for Mayura, allowing her to activate the power of her personal sword. Miura succeeded in activating that power and charged forward with momentum, but to everyone's surprise, the attack had no effect, as the witch blocked it with ease. Rin attempted another attack, but her strike nearly hit Miura, forcing her to cancel it at the final moment. At that instant, the witch struck Miura, sending her flying backward. Rin tried by every possible means to hold the witch at bay. At the same time, Taichi was attempting to attack the monster in every way he could, yet all his efforts failed. His blows with his bare hands were useless, and even his sword attacks had no effect. Suddenly, the monster struck Taichi with an icy sphere, but he rose quickly and refocused his energy. At that moment, Kasim handed the monster a strange red sphere, identical to the one carried by the witch. In an instant, the monster transformed into a terrifying red form and charged at Taichi with uncontrollable rage. Blood poured from the young man, and his end seemed imminent. Kasim told Taichi not to worry, stating that he would not kill him, but instead exploit and control him by taking the 2 girls. Upon hearing these words, Taichi's anger intensified. At the same time, the narrator observed Rin and Mayura lying on the ground. Yet this was not the end. The two girls rose once more and returned to the battle using their true power. It became clear that what they had used earlier had merely been a test to measure the witch's strength. They attacked together, with Mayura striking from the ground and Rin attacking from the air. The witch blocked both attacks, but Mayura appeared behind her and delivered a strike that nearly finished her. Rin followed up by attacking with an electrified sword, driving it into the witch's body. Even after all of that, the witch managed to remain standing. The two girls attacked again. Rin used wind magic, then ignited the wind with fire, causing the dust to burst into flames. It was evident that she achieved this through the scientific knowledge she had gained in her own world. Despite everything she endured, the witch continued to resist. However, she was caught off guard when Mayura appeared behind her and struck her with a sword, tearing her apart completely. Thus, the two girls emerged victorious over the witch. We move to Taichi, who had been brutally beaten by the monster and appeared to have been defeated. Kasim addressed the girls, telling them that it would be better for them to come along willingly if they did not wish for Taichi to be harmed further. Suddenly, Taichi opened his eyes, overwhelmed by frustration at his inability to do anything. He then lost consciousness and heard a strange voice asking him if he desired power. Taichi answered that he did, declaring that he wanted power to protect the people he loved. The voice warned him that it would grant him power by breaking the rules, that he would suffer because of it, and that the pain of this power would be akin to death, asking if he still desired it. Taichi answered affirmatively despite everything. The strange voice then told him that it would grant him the power and revealed itself as the wind spirit named Ariel. In an instant, Taichi drew in an overwhelming force, his form becoming imposing and immensely powerful. Everyone was shocked by his appearance, especially Kasim, who ordered the monster to attack him. The monster charged with all its might, forcing Taichi to step back. Yet the shock was that the blow had no effect on him. Taichi rose and counterattacked. The monster's attack collided with Taichi's strike, but Taichi's power prevailed, crushing the monster completely. After that, Kasim and the witch attempted to flee, but Taichi's rage surged. He delivered a decisive and powerful blow that severed Kasim's arm, bringing about a crushing defeat for them both. After a week had passed, Taichi awoke to find himself inside Lamia's house. As soon as he regained consciousness, she explained what had happened. She told him that his condition was the result of extreme exhaustion and the complete depletion of his magic. She clarified that when a person uses only a small amount of magic, it recovers quickly, but when all magical energy is consumed at once, it requires a long time to return, and that this was exactly what had happened to him. Taichi listened to her in shock. Lamia continued, informing him that Miura and Rin were the ones who had brought him there, and that their concern had been clearly visible. After that, she asked him to explain in detail what had occurred in the forest. The young man recounted everything, and Lamia immediately identified the source of the magic that had been used on the monster. She told him that this magic belonged to a forbidden type, known as Crimson Support Magic. She explained that this magic absorbs the life energy of animals and humans alike, and that when it is given to any being, its power increases by dozens of times with ease. Taichi continued his explanation, telling her that he had been on the verge of death had it not been for the spirit that helped him. He described in detail how the spirit had appeared. Lamia was stunned by his words and told him that he was not a shaman but something else entirely. At the same time, Kasim and the witch were standing before their master, reporting everything that had happened. The leader was shocked when he learned that Taichi had defeated the monster. He then told Kasim that he had a second mission for him, which he would learn about soon. Suddenly the leader turned toward the witch, cast a strange type of magic on her, and then left the place. We moved to Taichi, who had already departed from Lamia's house and began recalling her words. She had told him that he was not a shaman, but a spirit summoner. This meant that he could make spirits use magic in his stead, and that his strength depended entirely on the bond between him and the spirit. For that bond to be complete, he needed to be able to hear and see the spirit. Taichi absorbed this information in a state of astonishment. We return to Taichi as he begins searching for Rin and Miura. While walking, he noticed two men harassing a girl and rushed in to help her. As he approached, the girl pretended to know him and exclaimed that he had finally arrived. Suddenly, one of the men recklessly attacked Taichi, but Taichi struck him, knocking him upside down onto the ground. The other man panicked and fled. The girl thanked Taichi for helping her and told him that she had met him before, revealing that she was the assassin he had defeated earlier. Taichi was shocked. She told him that her name was now Anna, that she had joined the Adventurers Guild, and that she had started working diligently. She told him that she was heading out on a mission. Taichi offered to accompany her, and she agreed, so the two of them went together. They arrived at the building associated with the mission. As soon as they entered, they began striking down the guards one by one until they reached the room where the criminals were located. Suddenly, Taichi noticed a board with something written on it and froze in shock. At the same time, Miura and Rin were together in the marketplace, enjoying their time. However, something was troubling Rin. Miura asked her whether she was still thinking about Taichi, and Rin answered affirmatively while appearing distracted, feeling an intense heat within herself. Miura reassured her, telling her not to worry. Suddenly, the two were attacked. They dodged the blows and began counterattacking. Miura struck one of the attackers, and Rin followed with her own attack. Rin was about to finish him off when a group of mages appeared atop the buildings and launched an attack toward them. Rin used an air barrier and blocked the strike. Suddenly the witch appeared and attacked, striking Miura in the abdomen. Miura lost consciousness, and the witch seized her and disappeared. Rin tried to stop them, but she was unable to do so due to their overwhelming numbers. On the other side, Taichi was advancing deep underground. It became clear that he had read in a document that there was a group of monsters, numbering approximately 3,000, all of whom had been affected by Crimson support magic. He was currently heading to stop them, for if those monsters managed to attack the city, it would be completely obliterated. Anna was accompanying him as well. As they moved forward, they came across a strange door. Taichi was about to touch it, but Anna stopped him, warning that the steam concealed traps. It was clear that she knew this due to her past experience as an assassin. Anna managed to open the door without triggering the trap, and the two continued on their path. At the same time, Rin continued chasing the mages, but they attempted to hinder her progress. In response, Rin scattered them using wind magic. Suddenly, the witch appeared before her. Rin realized that Miura was being held inside this building and understood that the witch had been forced to reveal the location as she was compelled to carry out the mission and had no desire to fight them. The witch informed Rin that Miura was to be offered as a sacrifice to the monsters, and that Rin needed to hurry there immediately. The girl listened and rushed toward the location at full speed, back to Miura, who was being carried through the air like a sacrificial offering. Suddenly, Rin arrived at the scene and, without wasting a moment, began attacking the assailants with magic. She hurled the first person away, then froze the others using ice magic. After that, she caused an earthquake to break the magic embedded in the ground, severed the chains, and successfully rescued Miura. Suddenly, the leader appeared alongside Kasim. Rin was filled with rage and was about to attack them, but the leader stated that he had come to warn them about the monsters advancing toward the city. He explained everything to them and then left the place. At the same time, one of the monsters was on the verge of killing Anna, but Taichi appeared at the final moment and saved her. He then struck the monster and crushed it completely. Anna felt deeply embarrassed, but Taichi reassured her, telling her not to worry. After Taichi defeated the monster, a strange gate appeared before them. When it opened, they were stunned by the sight, an enormous group of monsters that had not yet emerged from their location. As Taichi stepped inside, two girls appeared, both of whom were revealed to share the same name, Mello. They declared that although he was very strong, they would now destroy everything. On the other side, Rin and Miura returned and reported everything to the guild master. A plan was immediately discussed, as the situation was extremely dangerous and would require the assistance of all adventurers. The guild master remarked that he wished Taichi were there. At that moment, Lamia arrived and told them that she would help as well. It was clear that events were about to erupt. We moved to Taichi, as the two girls used a crystal to summon the monsters, which appeared in massive numbers. Taichi told Anna to retreat to the rear. Suddenly the monsters charged forward, but who were they attacking? It was Taichi. The young man began striking back fiercely from all directions, but the number of monsters was enormous and seemingly endless. Suddenly, the crystal slipped from the girls' hands and the monsters turned on them. The noble hero did not hesitate. He rushed forward and saved them. At the same time, the monsters began attacking Anna, so Taichi, while carrying the two girls, leaped toward Anna and saved her as well. After that, he began fighting the monsters alone. On the other side, the guildmaster gathered with Lamia, Rin, and Miura. They realized that the northern fortress had fallen and that the enemy would attack from the front using weaker monsters, while the rear forces consisted of orcs, Gilan, and the strongest beasts. The number of adventurers available was only 150 above rank D, with the rest being weak, meaning that the numerical advantage lay with the monsters. Lamia explained that she possessed a spell capable of destroying the strongest monsters, but she could only use it once. Therefore, they first needed to eliminate the monsters at the front so that the spell would not be wasted, and then use the ultimate spell against the strongest enemies. The problem lay in how to defeat the monsters at the front. Suddenly, Rin spoke up, telling them not to worry, as she would handle it herself. Everyone agreed to the plan, and the day came to an end. On the following day, everyone headed toward the wall, and Rin was preparing to carry out her plan. Rin had explained the day before, when she described the method she would use to defeat the monsters, combining fire, water, and earth magic to create a massive explosion. She had explained how this explosion would occur, yet no one truly understood her explanation, as they lacked knowledge of the scientific laws that existed in her original world. For that reason, Rin simply told them, "Trust me." Rin prepared to activate the attack, but she waited until the monsters drew closer. Then, in an instant, the spell was unleashed. The ground exploded, shattered apart, and pulled the monsters inward. After that, Rin attacked with water, followed by fire. At that moment, the fire transformed into superheated metal, which she hurled at the monsters. Then came the massive explosion, sending the monsters flying in every direction. However, this spell pushed Rin to her absolute limit, draining an enormous amount of her magic. Even so, she recovered her strength and returned to the battle once more. At the same time, the adventurers charged toward the monsters, and a fierce battle erupted between the two sides. The monsters held the advantage in numbers, while the humans held the advantage in power. Both sides exchanged relentless blows without retreat or hesitation. The leader stood at a distance alongside Kasim, observing the battle. During this time, news reached the guildmaster that some of the monsters possessed a strange power and were affected by crimson magic. The guildmaster was stunned by this information. Suddenly, Taichi arrived at the battlefield and said, apologizing for his delay. The battle continued smoothly at first, but suddenly, 3 monsters of immense power appeared. Lamia asked Miura and Rin to buy her a few seconds so she could activate the spell that would destroy the monsters. The 2 girls agreed and began attacking the beasts. Lamia successfully activated the spell and struck the monsters, causing a large number of them to fall. However, the 3 gigantic monsters remained completely unharmed. The 3 heroes then launched an assault on these massive beasts. Suddenly, Rin attacked one of them, but her strike had no effect whatsoever. She was shocked and thought to herself whether this was the end, whether she was about to die. In that moment, she felt that the only thing easing her fear was Taichi's presence. In her heart, she apologized for not being able to express her feelings honestly and thanked him for standing by her side. At the final moment, Taichi appeared and blocked the monster's strike with his bare hand. Everyone stepped back. Taichi attacked the beast fiercely, their powers nearly equal. He slammed the monster to the ground, leapt into the air, and delivered a second blow that shattered it completely. Taichi then went to Lamia and asked them to protect his back so he could defeat the remaining monsters. He introduced the 2 young girls named Mello, informing them that they were now allies. After that, he charged back into battle against the monsters. At the same time, the leader watched in astonishment at Taichi's power and stated that this was only the beginning, and that what was coming next would be far more dangerous. It became clear that all of this was happening under the orders of the great leader. Who was this person, and why was he doing all of this, and what threat could be more dangerous than giant monsters? At that moment, a soldier stood before the guildmaster, reporting everything Taichi had done. Anna listened to the report and felt deep concern for him. It seemed she had fallen deeply in love with the hero. She decided to trust him, just as he had trusted her and helped her leave the world of crime. Suddenly, a strange individual appeared and whispered magical words into her ear. The girl was placed into a hypnotic trance and left the area. At that moment, the rest of the youths were fiercely battling the monsters, delivering an outstanding performance. As for Taichi, he was confronting the gigantic beasts, striking them without hesitation, blow after blow, until he succeeded in defeating them. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, and its surface cracked open. A colossal creature emerged, devouring the 2 defeated monsters. As it fully surfaced from the earth, it became clear that it was not merely a dragon, but a gigantic 2-headed dragon. Taichi immediately ordered everyone to retreat. However, Rin refused to leave, insisting on staying by his side. Taichi agreed to let her remain on the condition that she would not interfere in the fight, and the girl accepted reluctantly. Taichi advanced toward the dragon and attempted to communicate with the wind spirit, yet he received no response. He decided to rely on himself and launched a powerful attack, but to his shock, the blow had no effect. The dragon retaliated with a fiery assault. Taichi managed to evade it, but the dragon followed up with a devastating strike that sent him flying. Rin tried to intervene, but the dragon blocked her. Suddenly, Anna arrived at the scene under the influence of hypnosis. She regained consciousness at once, unaware of why she was there. Taichi shouted for her to leave immediately, but at that instant, the dragon attacked him, and Anna took the blow in his place. Taichi tried desperately to wake her. She did regain consciousness, but the powerful strike had inflicted a deep wound. Taichi blamed himself, saying that everything had happened because of his own foolishness. Anna told him not to say that, explaining that she truly owed him, as he was the first person who had treated her as a human being rather than a mere tool. She thanked him sincerely. She was about to tell him that she loved him, but when she saw Rin, she realized that this feeling was surely unreciprocated. She changed her words and said that he was her dearest friend. Suddenly, her voice faded away and her hands stopped moving. Overwhelming rage surged through Taichi and his blood boiled. He screamed at the top of his lungs, calling out to Ariel, demanding her power, declaring that he could no longer endure anymore. In an instant, Taichi was transported to a strange place. Ariel appeared before him for the first time and apologized. He asked her why she had not helped him earlier. She explained that she was merely a spirit, while he was a spirit summoner, and that she could only act when he commanded her. Otherwise, she was unable to intervene. She further clarified that the first time he had called out, he lacked the resolve necessary to form a contract, which was why she could not speak to him. Taichi understood everything and asked her to lend him her power. She agreed. Taichi returned to consciousness and asked Rin to take care of Anna. He then turned toward the dragon. He communicated with Ariel through telepathy and confirmed that her power was now fully available. It became clear that the two of them could end everything with a single strike. Taichi advanced toward the dragon and asked why a being of such immense power would interfere in a battle between monsters and humans. The dragon replied that if Taichi could prove his true strength, it would answer. It took to the sky and charged recklessly. Taichi countered, and their attacks collided, but Taichi's strike was stronger, crushing the dragon's attack into the ground. The dragon then acknowledged Taichi's power and fulfilled its promise, explaining that its involvement in the battle had been ordered by a certain individual, and that it could say no more than that. Immediately afterward, the dragon flew away and left the area. Elsewhere, the leader and another mysterious figure stood before the one controlling everything, reporting all the events that had occurred. The controller stated that what was coming next would be far more dangerous than anything so far, signaling that the coming events would be even more intense and brutal. After a long period had passed since the great battle, the town gradually returned to its normal state. Taichi, the hero, would occasionally go to visit Anna's grave. After finishing his most recent visit, he joined the rest of his group, which included Lamia, Mayura, and Rin. He sat with them and showed that he had become capable of summoning the wind spirit Ariel whenever he wished. He summoned her, and everyone was impressed by her gentle and charming appearance. Suddenly, they noticed a royal carriage stopping nearby, the type of carriage always used to deliver royal messages. A girl stepped down from it and introduced herself as Alcena, explaining that she had come on behalf of King Gilmar. She stated that the king was summoning all of them to the royal capital, and the group decided to go with her. On the way, the heroes asked Alcena about the current situation in the kingdom. They learned that for several years, two factions had been controlling the state. The first followed King Gilmar, while the second followed his younger brother Dortaishim. Conflict between the two factions had always persisted, until Gilmar ultimately ascended the throne. Even so, the struggle between the two sides continued. They also learned that King Gilmar would annually send groups of mages to other nations, under the pretense of improving diplomatic relations. The mages would stay temporarily and then return, but in reality, this was merely a display of the kingdom's power. The faction loyal to Dortaishim strongly opposed this practice, and eventually staged a coup against the king. It became clear that this was the reason behind the summoning of the hero and his companions. At that moment, they found themselves themselves arriving at the royal capital. They stepped down to admire the beauty of the city, but suddenly, an arrow shot toward Alcena's face. Taichi saved her at the very last moment. Immediately afterward, Taichi headed toward the palace. At the same time, the one responsible for the attack revealed himself as one of Dortisheim's soldiers. Taichi and his companions arrived at the royal court. As soon as they entered, all those present looked at them with contempt. Alcena introduced the figures in attendance. On the right was the head of the royal mages, Bella. On the left was the supreme commander of the royal army, Sumela. And the beautiful girl seated there was Princess Charlotte. Suddenly, King Gilmar entered the hall. Silence fell over everyone out of respect for the king. He began to introduce himself, but midway through his speech, Lamia interrupted, telling him to get straight to the point. Everyone present was angered by Lamia's bold manner of addressing the king. The king ordered everyone to leave, and they did so. At that moment, the king said to Lamia that she had not changed and was still the same as ever. She replied that he too had not changed, calling him an old man, and asked what he wanted from them. The king explained that he needed their help. Lamia agreed to assist him, but only under certain conditions. The king immediately accepted whatever they demanded, and an agreement was reached. Before Lamia left, she asked the king whether he was the one who had summoned Taichi and Rin from their world. The king hesitated briefly, then admitted that he had done it, and apologized. Taichi was overwhelmed with anger and told him that such an apology was not enough, asking whether he understood what they had been through because of him, how they had been torn away from their families and homes and nearly lost their lives, all just to help him. He demanded to know why the king had done it in the first place. The king apologized once more, and after that, they left the hall. They were taken to a room prepared for rest. While they were resting, Alcena entered and said that someone wished to speak with them. It became clear that she meant Princess Charlotte. As soon as the princess entered, she apologized deeply and confessed that she was the one who had summoned them from their world. She explained that she had wanted to save her people and was forced to do so, as no one but her could perform that spell, since she was the one who governed time and space. When she performed the summoning, she had included all the conditions required for a hero, but suddenly, an assassin entered her chamber, causing her to lose control of the spell. For that reason, Rin was also summoned to this world, even though only one hero had been intended. The two asked when they would be able to return to their own world. Charlotte explained that the summoning spell could only be performed once in a lifetime, and apologized, telling them that she would not be able to send them back. She began to cry, her sorrow evident. However, Rin and Taichi stopped her and told her that if they had not come to this world, they would never have met all these friends. They assured her that they wished to protect their companions, just as she wished to protect her kingdom. Charlotte was overjoyed by their words and thanked them sincerely for everything. Suddenly, in the midst of their conversation, Lamia arrived and took Taichi to the combat arena. She explained that he would face the commander of the army, Sumela, and stated that she had proposed this idea because no one in the royal court trusted them, meaning they had to prove their strength. The battle began at once. Sumela charged at the young man with tremendous force, but he blocked her attack and countered with an equally powerful strike. Suddenly, she launched another fierce assault. Taichi considered summoning Ariel, but he remembered that doing so might kill her, so he chose to rely on his own strength. He attacked at incredible speed, and their swords collided and shattered. After their blades broke, they engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Taichi managed to evade her strikes and then delivered a blow that knocked her to the ground. At that point, Sumela surrendered. After the battle ended, Sumela told Taichi that she wished to marry him because he was the strongest and the knight of her dreams. She insisted on marrying him even if it meant becoming a second wife. Everyone present was shocked by her sudden request. Taichi screamed in embarrassment, and the contest came to an end. Everyone then went to sleep. Later that night, while Princess Charlotte was praying, a man entered her chamber. The narrator revealed that his name was Lodra, one of the leaders of the royal court. Lodra pretended to be kind and gentle, and the innocent princess trusted him completely. It became clear that Lodra was the one who had been plotting everything from behind the scenes. On the following day, a group of Dortisheim's followers gathered and agreed to launch an attack against Gilmar. One of them stated that they needed to act quickly before Gilmar made his first move. Nevertheless, they were deeply concerned about the power of Taichi and Rin, and they exchanged meaningful glances, suggesting that they were plotting something. We move to King Gilmar, who was fully aware that the enemy army's numbers were relatively small. The king decided to begin the war against his brother, and Taichi and Rin would take part in it as well. Everyone gathered to plan. Sumela began explaining the strategy. stating that they had approximately 3,000 soldiers, in addition to other troops who would not participate, while the enemy also had only 3,000 soldiers. Lamia suggested bringing additional mages in case they were needed, and everyone agreed. The detailed explanation of the plan began. Rin and Taichi understood nothing, as it was their first time participating in a war. Miura told them that they simply needed to follow orders and kill, just as they always did. However, the two felt deep anxiety, as this time they would be facing humans rather than monsters, and they would not be able to kill them. Lamia told them that such thinking had no place in war. Either you kill or you are killed. She emphasized that this was the essence of war. There was no mercy or compassion, even if the enemy was your own brother. War remained war. The two agreed reluctantly and then went to sleep. Suddenly, while they were in their room, they sensed someone sneaking toward Rin's room. Taichi set a trap, and the assassin fell into it and was captured. They demanded that he surrender, but the assassin leapt toward Rin, attempting to kill her. At that moment, Taichi was consumed by rage and attacked the assassin recklessly, thinking that he would never allow anyone he loved to die again. Lamia ordered him to stop, and Taichi complied. Suddenly, the assassin cut his own tongue, jumped out of the window, and took his own life. What utter foolishness, to sacrifice one's life for one's masters. After all those events, the heroes returned to rest. On the following day, the time for battle arrived. The enemy army reached the battlefield. Immediately, Taichi climbed atop the wall and summoned Ariel, unleashing a strike powered by her strength that literally shattered the ground. As a result, the enemy army was no longer able to continue advancing along the same path. However, Taichi suddenly noticed that the enemy had not moved. He sensed something strange, and in the next instant, fireballs were hurled at them from every direction. The shock was that the enemy army had begun launching fire magic and other attacks. Taichi was stunned, as it was impossible for any kingdom to possess such a large number of mages within its army. At that moment, Taichi informed his companions that the soldiers were wearing rings. Lamia explained that these rings were extremely expensive magic stones that allowed anyone to use magic. However, these stones had a devastating flaw. If the person using them was not originally a magic user, they would drain the user's life force. This meant that the soldiers would ultimately die on their own. Miura felt deeply disturbed by this revelation. Alcena then told them that they would not allow those soldiers to die, because even in war, they were still citizens of the kingdom, and they would not abandon their people so easily. It became clear that the war was between Gilmar and Dortaisheim, both of whom belonged to the same kingdom, making it an internal conflict. After everything that had happened, Lamia stated that she had a plan, but that she needed Rin with her. Rin agreed immediately. On the other side, soldiers were falling one after another, yet they continued to use magic. At the same time, Rin was preparing a specific spell, while Taichi protected her with a wind barrier. After some time, the kingdom's mages cast a strange spell, and Rin followed it with her own incantation. The moment the spell activated, rain began to fall. The soldiers started collapsing to the ground as the rain poured down upon them. Suddenly, a man appeared once again. The army commander became furious and accused him of having provided the rings, claiming that he had promised them victory as long as they possessed them. In the next instant, that man lunged at the commander and killed him. It became clear that this man's name was Inimix. With that, Gilmar's army won the battle, and the entire city began celebrating the victory. On the following day, the king summoned the heroes. They went to see him, and he praised their performance in the war, calling it honorable. For that reason, Princess Charlotte insisted that each of them receive a reward. The rewards were extremely rare weapons, found nowhere else. The king asked each of them to choose the weapon that suited them best. Miura chose the small dagger. Rin chose a magical staff. Lamia chose a very powerful magic ring made from a rare magic stone. As for Taichi, he chose a sword that appeared exceptionally powerful. After that, they departed from the palace. Taichi went to the market to buy some food. Suddenly, he noticed people staring at him in astonishment, saying that he was the strongest hero in the kingdoms and the one who had saved them. Children gathered around him to greet him. The young man felt deeply embarrassed, greeted the children politely, and continued on his way. All at once, he sensed a strange presence following him. He stopped and told the unseen figure to come out, stating that he could feel him. The person appeared, revealing himself to be Kasim. Taichi was shocked and asked why he had appeared in such a manner. Kasim replied that Taichi should already know, reminding him that he was the one who had cut off his arm. Taichi immediately recalled what he had done to Kasim before. At that moment, Kasim demanded a duel, declaring that he wanted to kill the hero. Taichi agreed, but only on the condition that they move to a deserted place far away from the children. Kasim accepted, and the two headed to the agreed location. Kasim informed Taichi that he would use a magical device to make their powers equal, and that the outcome of the battle would be decided by effort and training alone. He spoke about the immense exhaustion he had endured during his training, only for Taichi, naturally gifted, to appear and destroy everything he had worked for. The battle began. Kasim activated the device, reducing Taichi's power. The duel commenced, with Taichi attacking using magic and swordsmanship, while Kasim assaulted him relentlessly. They exchanged blows, their strength nearly equal. The fight dragged on for a long time until both of them were exhausted. Kasim decided to end the battle with a single strike and activated a powerful magical spell. Taichi's strength had been completely depleted, and he had sustained numerous injuries. As the attack approached, he searched for a solution and conceived the idea of concentrating his remaining energy into his sword. He executed the idea, slammed the ground with immense force, and completely stopped Kasim's attack. Kasim told Taichi that he had lost and that Taichi was now free to destroy the magical device and reclaim his full power. Suddenly, however, a strange and dark entity emerged from the device. Taichi attempted to attack it, but the entity was intangible and struck him with great force. Kasim sat frozen in shock. The creature was about to deliver a fatal blow to Taichi, but at the final moment, the witch arrived, whose name was finally revealed to be Grami. She blocked the attack. Kasim urgently told Grami to destroy the device as quickly as possible, while he distracted the creature. Grami shattered the device, yet the shocking truth was that the monster remained. Taichi's power returned to him. He then realized that he could compress the power of wind into his sword and strike the creature. He carried out the attack, and the monster was destroyed. Taichi thanked Grami for saving him, though she responded with a brief display of pride. Afterward, Taichi gave medicine to Kasim. Grami told Taichi not to provoke Kasim any further, explaining that he was deeply upset and regretful for having underestimated Taichi's efforts. She stated that the battle had proven to him that the difference lay not in talent alone, but in hard work, and added that Kasim respected people who worked diligently. Kasim felt extremely embarrassed and tried to silence her. Taichi replied that all the credit belonged to his excellent teacher. After that, the two left the place in high spirits. It became clear that their relationship with Taichi had improved significantly. Suddenly, as Taichi was making his way back, he heard a strange commotion. When he asked the shopkeeper about it, he learned that Dortaisheim's army had officially declared war on King Gilmar. It became clear that the final war was about to begin. On the other side, Lodra appeared alongside the girl, who seemed to be the cause of all these calamities. Lodra informed her of what had happened, and she told him that they must prepare for the final stage of their plan. On the following day, both armies prepared for the decisive final war that would determine the fate of the country. Dortaisheim was then seen announcing the beginning of the war, accompanied by his personal aide, Inimix, who appeared to harbor malicious intent. At the same time, King Gilmar declared war as well and began encouraging his soldiers, whose morale ignited with fervor. At that moment, the war began. The two armies clashed, and close combat erupted as soldiers began killing one another. Taichi thought to himself how unimaginable it was that they had once been ordinary high school students living dull lives, only to find themselves now participating in a real war. He decided to attack as well and unleashed his power. In a single leap, he reached the enemy camp. The enemies stood frozen in shock, unsure of how to react. Taichi attacked them at incredible speed. At the same time, Lodra was explaining everything to his superior. We moved to the battlefield where Rin was attacking soldiers fiercely, with no one able to stand against her. Suddenly, a girl appeared and told Rin that she had not found a worthy opponent. It became clear that her name was Sora, that she was rank A, far above Rin in rank, and that she was extremely powerful. Without hesitation, Sora launched an attack on Rin. Elsewhere, Mura was engaged in battle. A boy approached her, acting foolish and rude, and told her that her place was not on the battlefield, but in the kitchen. Enraged, Mura responded that it was none of his business, and charged at him with overwhelming speed. In another area, Lamia was fighting soldiers. She managed to restrain them and stated that she would not kill them. Suddenly, her weapon froze. A mage appeared, whose name was revealed to be Rock. Lamia freed her weapon, released the soldiers, and told them to leave so they would not be harmed. The battle between Lamia and Rock then began. At the same time, Taichi reached Dortaisheim's position. As soon as he entered, the soldiers were seized with fear. Dortaisheim ordered them to stand aside so that he could speak with Taichi. Taichi told Dortaisheim that he had come to negotiate for peace. He said that both Gilmar and Dortaisheim desired the happiness of the people, yet they were forcing the people to kill one another, which made no sense. He stated that the war must not continue, as it would only lead to more bloodshed. Inimix attempted to stop Taichi from speaking, but Dortaisheim halted him. Taichi continued, telling Dortaisheim that he could easily take him to King Gilmar at that very moment, yet he had chosen the path of peace instead. Dortaisheim thought for a moment and appeared to agree. Suddenly, Inimix released a demonic power from within his body, which burst out of the tent and ignited violently. We moved to Lamia, who was facing Rock. They exchanged blows, and both became severely exhausted. Suddenly, Lamia unleashed a new strike she had just devised. She struck him heavily, then hurled a massive fireball at him, and he appeared to be dead. As for Mayura, she launched a fierce assault on the foolish boy. When he learned of his mage companion's death, he showed no concern and remarked that a mere insect had died, and that it did not matter. These words enraged Mayura completely. She charged recklessly, and although the boy blocked her initial strike, Miura suddenly appeared above him, attacked again, and severed his neck. Thus, he was killed as well. At that moment, Taichi was speaking with Dortaisheim. Suddenly, Dortaisheim told Taichi that he rejected his proposal. Taichi felt anger rising within him, as they had made a great effort to obtain approval for this peaceful offer. Dortaisheim told the hero that if Taichi had been on his side, things would have been different. He then posed one final question to him, asking why, if Taichi was the strongest, he did not become king himself. Taichi replied that being a king was a tremendous responsibility, and if he were to crown himself, the people would depend entirely on him, and in truth, he was not suited or prepared for such a role. Dortaisheim heard these words and laughed loudly, then reaffirmed his refusal, stating that he would not throw away everything he had worked for in his life, as he had strived since birth to improve the state of the kingdom. As they were speaking, they noticed that the soldiers who had been slain by Inimix's magic were beginning to rise again, their lifeless bodies standing once more. No one understood what was happening. Elsewhere, Rin was facing Sora. Rin was unable to match her directly, as Rin relied primarily on magic, while Sora depended heavily on combat skills. Despite this disadvantage, Rin continued to fight relentlessly in an attempt to win. Sora attacked Rin at great speed, but Rin dodged the strike. Sora then attacked with fire magic and managed to wound Rin. At the same time, Rin used fire rain magic and succeeded in destroying Sora's body. Even so, the girl refused to give up and rose again to continue the fight. Suddenly, Rin noticed that the fallen soldiers were rising once more. The two opponents drew closer to one another and began thinking about what they could do. At that moment, Inimix appeared with a sinister smile and addressed Dortaisheim, asking whether he truly thought him foolish and whether he believed he would listen to such naive ideas. He continued by stating that what had happened between Dortaisheim and his brother had been nothing more than a minor disagreement, but with a few carefully chosen words from him, it had turned into a full-scale war. He admitted that while he had worked under Dortaisheim for a long time, in truth, he served the Shadow Woman, the strongest woman in the world, who controlled the balance of the world and manipulated everything. The two stood frozen in shock, unable to comprehend what they were hearing. Inimix went on to explain that the magic being used was one of the forbidden types, capable of turning fallen soldiers into creatures whose sole purpose was to kill. Dortaisheim asked him why he had done such a thing. Inimix replied that he had acted on the orders of the Shadow Woman and that he had no interest whatsoever in the future of the kingdom. He then commanded the dead soldiers to advance and slaughter the people. The shock deepened when it became clear that a spell had been cast over the entire capital. It was evident that the number of undead soldiers would increase dramatically, as the number of casualties in the battle had been extremely high. Taichi and Dortaisheim rushed outside and began fighting the resurrected soldiers. Suddenly, Inimix declared that the time had come for him to offer his life to that woman. In an instant, he turned to dust, as though he had never existed at all. We move to Lemia, as she speaks with Mayura. She told her that 200 years ago, there had been a battle known as the Battle of the Blood Pool, during which an enormous number of people had died. At that time, something strange had afflicted the soldiers. They had gone mad, killing their comrades, civilians, and anyone who stood in their way. It had been the worst battle humanity had ever known. Now, what had happened 200 years ago was repeating itself. This time, both the living and the dead soldiers were transforming together. The problem was that what was happening did not belong to any known type of magic. Rather, it was dark magic created by a dark entity. Lamia explained that in order for these people to return to their normal state, that entity had to be destroyed. Elsewhere, the Shadow Woman was observing everything and greatly enjoying what was unfolding. We returned to the battlefield, where Rin and Sora were fighting. Sora was attacking the soldiers with the intent to kill them, while Rin was striking them with wind magic because she did not want to kill them. Suddenly, Rin told Sora that she would be her work partner for the day, meaning that she would hire her to work alongside her for pay. Sora liked the idea and agreed, and the two continued fighting together. At the same time, Taichi was facing the soldiers, yet he was unable to do anything to them, as they felt neither fatigue nor injury. Dorteisheim told him that he had to kill them even if he pitied them, because war knew no mercy, and there was no other solution. Dorteisheim apologized to Taichi, admitting that he was the reason behind everything that had happened, and feeling deeply distressed. Taichi told him to stop dwelling on it, and said that they had to stop them now. He then began activating his magic, and declared that he would kill them in order to protect his friends and the people dear to his heart. At the final moment, Ariel stopped time. She did not merely stop him from killing, she froze everything. She apologized to him and confessed that she had been lying to him the entire time, that this was not her true form, nor even her real name. The truth was that her name was Anastasia, and that she would now return to her original form. She apologized again, explaining that she had hidden the truth because she had always feared his power and feared for him, because if he failed to control that power, it would destroy his body and kill him. After that, Anastasia disappeared from the place. Suddenly, Rin arrived. Taichi went to her and embraced her, and the girl felt extremely embarrassed. Taichi apologized to her for not coming to help sooner, and Rin was overwhelmed with shyness. Taichi told her that he would now change everything. After that, he summoned Anastasia in her new form. The moment she appeared, she cancelled the demonic spell, and all the people returned to their normal state. Afterward, Lamia said that this marked the true beginning of Taichi as a genuine spirit summoner. Anastasia appeared in her new form. Taichi felt uneasy because Ariel was no longer there, but Anastasia reassured him, telling him that she was the same being as Ariel, only with a different appearance. Sora was shocked when she saw Anastasia's form, for Anastasia was one of the 4 greatest spirits and the queen of spirits as well. Suddenly, in the midst of the hero's conversation, a gigantic demon appeared. It was revealed to be Eve, though he had transformed into a completely different form. Taichi activated Anastasia's power, leapt into the air, and asked Eve what had driven him to do all of this. Eve answered that he was acting on the orders of the Shadow Woman. Taichi asked for her name, but Eve replied that he would learn it in due time, and that for now, Taichi was nothing more than a sword and a shield meant only to protect her. He added that she was the one who had summoned Taichi to this world with her overwhelming power, and that Princess Charlotte had been nothing more than a tool used for that purpose. He said that in the coming period, Taichi would help them, and that the balance of the world would be completely overturned. Taichi responded that he would never submit to anyone, and that he would use his power only to protect the people he loved. He then launched a fierce assault on Eve, striking him again and again. He remembered all his friends, as well as Anna, his departed companion, and delivered a decisive blow that sent Eve crashing to the ground. Taichi descended and was about to kill him, but Eve told him that he knew Taichi's weakness was his inability to kill anyone. Taichi replied that he had learned that for peace to be achieved, sacrifices were sometimes necessary, and that he could not save everyone. In the next instant, Taichi struck Eve with a lightning bolt from above, completely disfiguring him, and Eve vanished. Naturally, the Shadow Woman had been watching everything, and she stated that everything had gone exactly as she had expected. The heroes gathered once more. The battle ended with King Gilmar's victory. The army returned to the city safely, and celebrations spread everywhere. Taichi was in his room when he suddenly woke up. He was told that the battle had ended. Lemia explained that she had treated Rin and told him that Princess Charlotte, as well as Rin and Miura, had been extremely worried about him. Everyone felt embarrassed, and hints of jealousy began to surface among them. At that moment, Lemia told Taichi how fortunate he was, pointing out that 3 girls were standing before him and that he could choose whichever he wished. The young man became even more embarrassed. After that, the situation stabilized, Dorteisheim was executed, and the heroes received extremely valuable rewards. They were officially appointed as heroes of the war. After all of this, the heroes left the city. They bid farewell to Princess Charlotte, who told them that she would continue trying to find a way to return them to their world. Taichi and Rin thanked her and told her that they felt at ease in this world. The princess thanked them in return, and they departed. Inside the carriage, the shadow woman was seen watching them through a crystal, clearly plotting something. And thus, the anime came to an end. As for the second season of this anime, there is currently no news about it, but a promise was made to summarize it and release it immediately once it airs. Until we meet again, farewell.